learned of love and ABC, and skinned our hearts and skinned.
Today, we're diving into the top 10 most hated 1970s songs.
You give me hope.
The ones that critics trashed, fans argued over, and radio stations wore into the ground. Some of these were huge hits, but popularity doesn't always equal love. In fact, sometimes the bigger the song, the bigger the backlash. So buckle up, because some of your old favorites, or least favorites, are about to resurface.
Number 10, Afternoon Delight, Starland Vocal Band, 1976.
Gonna grab some afternoon delight.
You knew this one was coming, right? When Afternoon Delight hit the charts in '76, it sounded like harmless, sugary pop. But once people started listening closely to the lyrics, they realized it was basically about, well, sneaking in a little romance on your lunch break. The harmonies were sweet, almost like a church choir, which made it even more awkward. Parents were shocked, radio DJs got cheeky about it, and yet, this thing went all the way to #1 on Billboard. Here's the funny part. The backlash was just as strong as its success. Many listeners couldn't stand how syrupy and repetitive it was. Even Rolling Stone later called it one of the worst songs ever written. Did you sing along with this one back in the day, or did you roll your eyes and change the station? Number 9, Feelings, Morris Albert, 1975.
Nothing more than feeling.
Ah, yes, Feelings, the song that launched 1,000 jokes. When Morris Albert released this ballad, it was supposed to be heartfelt and emotional. Instead, it became the punchline for every lounge singer stereotype. People called it whiny, overly dramatic, and some critics even said it was a song about nothing. And yet, it was a massive international hit. You'd hear it at weddings, on TV variety shows, in elevators. It was unavoidable. By the late '70s, even comedians were mocking it relentlessly. Here's the kicker. Morris Albert didn't even write the melody. He got sued for plagiarism and lost. The tune was actually lifted from a Brazilian song written years earlier. No wonder so many people really hated Feelings. Number 8, Sometimes When We Touch, Dan Hill, 1977.
The honesty's too much.
Okay, let's talk melodrama. Dan Hill's Sometimes When We Touch was meant to be a sweeping ballad of vulnerability, but for a lot of listeners it was just too much. The soaring vocals, the trembling delivery. People said it sounded less like romance and more like begging.
I wanna hold you till I die.
By the '80s, it was already being parodied left and right. Critics called it sappy, overwrought, and painfully earnest. Yet at the same time, some folks still dance to it at weddings and proms. When this came on the radio, did you feel moved or did you cringe? Number 7, Muskrat Love, Captain and Tennille, 1976.
Muskrat, muskrat, candlelight.
Yes, this is real. Yes, it was a hit. And yes, it's about two muskrats in love. Originally written by Willis Allen Ramsey, Muskrat Love was picked up by Captain and Tennille after America recorded it first. Their version became a top 10 hit in 1976. But let's be honest, most people hated it. Critics mocked the lyrics, especially the whirring and purring sound effects meant to mimic muskrats. Many listeners found it ridiculous, even embarrassing. And yet, it played on primetime TV, including a famous performance at the White House for Gerald Ford. Imagine sitting there in a tux, listening to muskrats falling in love. No wonder this song is still remembered as one of the most hated of the decade. Number 6, I Write the Songs, Barry Manilow, 1975.
I wrote the very first song.
Before you get mad, let me explain. Barry Manilow didn't actually write I Write the Songs. It was written by Bruce Johnston of the Beach Boys. But Manilow's version became a #1 hit in 1976, and a lightning rod for hate.
And I write the songs.
Critics said it was self-indulgent, corny, and the title confused people into thinking Barry was bragging about writing every song ever. In truth, the I in the song was supposed to represent music itself. Still, that didn't stop the jokes. Manilow already had a reputation for schmaltzy ballads, and this track cemented it. Even some of his fans admitted it was a little much. But let's be honest. Love him or hate him, Barry Manilow owned the 70s airwaves. Number 5, Convoy, C.W. McCall, 1975.
Town, we had 85 trucks in all, but there's a roadblock up on the Cloverleaf.
Breaker. Remember this one? In the mid-70s, CB radio culture was huge. Truckers had their own lingo, and suddenly everyone wanted in on the fad. Enter Convoy, a novelty country song packed with trucker slang.
See how them hawks is starting to close up my sinuses. Mercy sakes, you better back off another 10.
It shot to number 1 in the U.S. and became an anthem for the trucking craze. But here's the thing. If you didn't understand CB talk, it just sounded like gibberish. And even if you did, it got old fast. By 1977, when they even made a movie out of it, a lot of listeners were completely burned out. For many, Convoy wasn't just a song, it was the moment the CB fad officially jumped the shark. Number 4, Da Ya Think I'm Sexy? Rod Stewart, 1978. Rod Stewart was already a rock legend when he released Da Ya Think I'm Sexy, but this disco-inspired hit split fans right down the middle. On one hand, it was a global smash, filling dance floors everywhere. On the other, longtime fans accused Stewart of selling out to disco. Rock critics absolutely tore it apart, calling it shallow, cheesy, and a desperate grab for the charts. Ironically, Stewart later admitted the whole thing was meant as a parody of disco culture. But by then, the damage was done. Rock purists hated it, disco fans loved it, and Stewart laughed all the way to the bank. So, were you dancing to this one, or were you throwing your beer at the jukebox? Number 3, You Light Up My Life, Debbie Boone, 1977. Few songs dominated the airwaves like You Light Up My Life. It spent a record-breaking 10 weeks at number 1 on Billboard, which was unheard of at the time. But here's the problem. The more it played, the more people hated it. Critics called it boring, lifeless, and cloyingly sentimental. It became the textbook example of a song people loved to hate. Even worse, Debbie Boone performed it on just about every TV special and awards show. By 1978, many listeners were completely sick of it. Still, you can't deny, when this came on the radio, you knew every single word, whether you wanted to or not. Number 2, Disco Duck, Rick Dees and His Cast of Idiots, 1976. Yes, a duck voice, singing disco. And somehow, this was a number 1 hit. Rick Dees was a Memphis DJ who recorded Disco Duck as a joke, but the public ate it up, and suddenly you couldn't escape that quacking voice on the radio. Of course, the backlash was immediate. Many people hated it with a passion, calling it one of the worst novelty songs ever recorded. Even Dees himself later admitted it was embarrassing. Still, it captured the weird, wacky side of 70s pop culture. Love it or hate it, you can't talk about the most hated songs of the decade without mentioning Disco Duck. Number 1, Seasons in the Sun, Terry Jacks, 1974.
Learned of love and ABC, and skinned our hearts and skin.
And here we are, the most hated song of the 70s. Seasons in the Sun was originally written in French, then adapted into English by poet Rod McEwen. Terry Jacks recorded it in 1974, and it became a massive hit worldwide. But oh, the backlash. Critics said it was unbearably maudlin, with clunky lyrics and an almost cheery delivery about death. Many called it manipulative, shallow, and downright depressing. Yet despite all the hate, it sold over 14 million copies and still gets played today. It's the perfect example of a song that people couldn't stand, but also couldn't escape. So, do you remember crying to this one? Or cringing? And there you have it, the top 10 most hated songs of the 1970s. Funny thing is, most of these were huge hits. Some broke records, which just goes to show. Being popular doesn't always mean being loved. In fact, sometimes the biggest hits spark the biggest backlash. So let me ask you, which 70s song did you hate the most? Was it on this list? Or did we miss a big one? Drop your answer in the comments. I'd love to see the debates this stirs up. And if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the wild, controversial side of music history. Until next time, keep the dial tuned in, and try not to get Disco Duck stuck in your head tonight.